Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stephen Breach coming to you here today. We're looking over a sad day in WWE. As a wrestling fan, you never really like to see these days come. You kind of look at it as it's like a sad day. Um, but the stuff's going down, and I even woke up this morning and saw more names coming out today. But we're just gonna go over yesterday's day of WWE releases. I think most people would put Dolph Ziggler as the biggest name that was on that list. We saw people like The Rock. We saw people like John Cena react to how many televised matches that Dolph Ziggler had, how many wins, the World Heavyweight Championships, Money in the Banks, tag team titles. His name, honestly, was a name that you could see the writing on the wall that it didn't look like Dolph was going to be there forever, or maybe he was just going to be a name that they just didn't want to release, and he would be there. I think enough's been said about Ziggler yesterday in the video. The guy was the man. I talked about him, I put him over, and then once it was over, I was like, I don't even think I talked about him cashing in the Money in the Bank against Alberto Del Rio. How big of a moment that was on Monday Night Raw. Everyone expected it at WrestleMania, and then it didn't happen. And then when it happened on the Monday Night Raw, it was like the most perfect situation for him to come down there. The only thing that sucked is that he suffered a concussion. He wasn't able to defend the belts on a pay-per-view. They stripped it, and that, of course, is when Christian got his day run with it before Randy Orton won the belt, and then Orton and Christian ended up having their run for a good, it seemed like 6 months on SmackDown, and Ziggler never was able to get there. Most people were looking at Ali as the second biggest name on this list, especially the fact that he had tried to get out of WWE, it seemed like a few times, using Twitter as just, if you're not going to use me, just let me go, let me spread my wings somewhere else. He's actually a free agent in storyline. He was in NXT. He actually had a match booked for the upcoming NXT pay-per-view for the North American title against Dirty Dom, and it's not like they were really using him, but at least they had him, wrestling on television. And in WWE, that's half the battle. Even if you're not winning matches, if you're on television, at least you're in the cycle. It's when you fall off and you scratch your head and you're like, man, when was the last time I've seen these guys? Honestly, when it comes down to looking at it, I love the guys. I love them to death. I miss their podcasts. I miss their vlogs that they would put up on YouTube. It seemed like they would go up almost every Monday, until they didn't. But part of me was hoping that their release would come. I'm talking about the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. I know it sucks to say you hope somebody gets released, but it was like these guys were in WWE. Seems like they weren't getting used for the longest time. They get out. They go back to doing their podcast. They get that going pretty good. They start making the YouTube vlogs. These guys get hot again. When Carl Anderson signs to go back to WWE, he's honestly about as hot as he's ever been. Having a New Japan Championship. They go back to WWE, and it's almost like they put him in a feud. Teaming with AJ Styles. They were going up against the Judgment Day. AJ Styles gets injured, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, if there's no AJ, there's no Good Brothers. And AJ's came back. They've tagged a few times, but it's almost like they're just like the guys that hang out with AJ Styles, and they're not on television. I love these guys. I would listen to them read the phone book. They brought their podcast back for 1 week. To tell you the truth, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. They didn't really say anything that they said they were going to say, but I support those guys the day I die, and it's always like kind of like a hope. Like, man, I hope they do something with these guys. I think they're awesome. They're great wrestlers. They're great personalities. They're great follows on Twitter, but I don't know. That's a bonus of like, why didn't these guys get it? From there, Elias, a guy that seemed like he really had it as a heel, as a babyface. He's one guy that really surprises you because when Elias was in NXT, you could tell that he was somebody that they thought had it. But watching the show, you're like, this doesn't really do it. And they did everything kind of special with Elias. You know, when they had their NXT house show, they had Elias just hanging out at the bar. And then, you know, when it was time for him to have his match, he, you know, picked up his guitar, he strummed it, and he's made his way to the ring, you know, from there. It wasn't like he just was hanging out in the back. They were really trying to get that gimmick over of like the traveling guitar man, and then, you know, you get him the t-shirts they were putting out with the Elias World Tours. I thought was some of the most coolest shirts that they had put out on WWE Shop in a long time. Honestly, I wasn't the biggest fan of Ezekiel, but Ezekiel really did, you know, get over. I don't really know why people hated Elias so much. Maybe it was the fact that he brought Raw to a stop with that guitar strum and the sort of like slow promo that you yell during and you get involved in it. Where he goes from here, I'm not quite sure. Shelton Benjamin, he wrestled in WWE forever. He got his release. He went to Ring of Honor, brought back tagging with Charlie Haas. This guy came back to WWE, I want to guess, in like 2016, maybe 2017, just to tag with Chad Gable when they decided that they were going to split up American Alpha because they thought Jason Jordan was going to go on to be a great singles wrestler. He did the Gable thing, and then he did the Hurt Business thing after that. You know, when Hurt Business broke up, probably 2 years ago, I would guess. You know, he stayed around. They were doing that thing where the Hurt Business kind of got together in the background. I don't know if that was something WWE was actually wanting them to do or something they just planned on their own, just, you know, kind of being in the right place at the right time. Backstage in promos and things like that. MVP and him would be talking, or, you know, him and Cedric Alexander. Cedric's another guy that's kind of like, man, I wonder why he wasn't on that on this list, because he's another guy that isn't really getting used that much. Top Dollar. I think they just brought him back to bring that TV show back, but I don't even know if he was involved with it on season 2 of the WWE Treasure Show. I don't get A&E because I have YouTube TV. So I haven't seen season 2 yet. The only thing I heard about is that they decided that they're not going to air the Kevin Nash episode. Dana Brooke, honestly, somebody that I really liked. I liked when she debuted in NXT. I thought she had a look, even with the silver hair, that stood out, kind of that like buff gymnastics look. She used to do a lot more kind of like cartwheely flips and things like that if you go watch her early stuff. I really thought when she made it to the main roster, she would get a huge push. Almost to the fact of like what Lacey Evans got. But Lacey didn't get over the hump. She like went kind of like debuted straight to the main event. She lost those few matches that she had with Becky Lynch and then kind of went to the back of the line. Dana somehow never really got over the hump of you know, being the girl. I don't know if she ever won the championship. Of course, she had that huge run with the 24/7 strap where they kept putting it on her. And then when Triple H came back, he kind of like said, nope, this belt's got to go. And I don't even remember how they got the belt off of her. I think they did something finally where they're like, all right, this belt is done. Boom. They gave us one little angle to say what it was. That Reggie guy, I don't know if he's still in NXT or not, but she was part of the NXT releases. She's not on the screen that I'm looking at, but I always really liked her. Riddick Moss, a guy that I guess they never really had huge plans for, but knew that he had potential. He was one of the guys that won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. but that didn't translate into anything. I love that match. I think it's cool that they do it on SmackDown the week of WrestleMania. It's not WrestleMania. It's not wrestling in front of the huge stands. Doesn't make sense. They have 2 nights of WrestleMania and they still can't fit this match into there. But I think by now Cesaro, Matt Hardy, Riddick Moss, Braun Strowman. I think you can see by now that is just about a Royal with a trophy. There's no future plans of anything. Emma was there. Emma was kind of like in the Shelton Benjamin camp. She got brought back during the whole Triple H thing. And she's supposed to be there to be a face that we know, be able to wrestle matches, not really matter to win a lot of matches, but she never really got her due. That girl was fucking good, and when she used to tag with Dana Brooke, they were a great team. Last on the list is Aaliyah. I remember Aaliyah when she was like one of us, sitting at home, making YouTube videos with the dream of being a wrestler. I'll tell you this much right now. I don't think I ever met her. I'm pretty sure. I remember that when we were in Dallas, Ravi got in to the WWE hotel and was hanging out with her at the bar. But I don't know where I was, but I definitely wasn't there. I don't really know what I was doing. But this girl, she had a major character in the NXT reality show, like back in 2016. She was on Monday Night Raw. She won the tag title. She's done. She's accomplished more than almost anybody that was on YouTube at that time, especially in the world of wrestling that we all loved and we all did. Not everybody gets to go out there and become, the John Cena or the Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flairs of it. She's seen it. She's done it all. I'm not really sure where she goes from here. She posts a lot of pictures of her like riding horses and stuff like that. Maybe that's, what her next dream is or what her next goal is. I'm not quite sure. But I tip my hat to her. There ain't nobody else that's got an action figure. And she got that basic one. I'm not sure. It's been out for a little bit, but I mean, like, I always thought it was pretty damn cool. When I see her cards, whether they're autographed or not autographed, she's somebody that I always pick up because I remember, who she was from like the very beginning, back in the day. But it sucks. But the next chapter in her career or her life, wherever she goes to here, pretty damn cool. So that's my thought on the releases. I'm hoping that there's not going to be a lot more. And that was kind of weird. I was talking about the fact that I was hoping the Good Brothers were going to get canned. But I'll see you guys.